Welcome back to the InboundREM YouTube channel. My name is Robert Newman. I am the founder of InboundREM. Today's video is going to be an extremely advanced strategy video that we call internally the inbound tornado strategy. Okay, so this is super advanced for established agents and brokers and people who are really wanting to take their results to a completely different level. Over the last few weeks, I've gone through a number of videos talking about spending less and downshifting of markets. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about exactly the opposite. A strategy that you can take into a place that if you had a successful SEO campaign or inbound strategy going and you wanted to 4, 5, 10 times it, what would you do? This strategy, the tornado strategy, is how we do it here at InboundREM, and we take our best clients and we basically have those clients conquer an entire specified demographic, such as a city, a county, a neighborhood. This strategy will work on all of them. All right, so here we go. What the inbound tornado strategy really is pretty unescapable funnels that create massive results, except using inbound strategies. In other words, you attract somebody into the funnel, and once they're there, they are basically taken to the top of the funnel through the value of content and messaging. All right, that's what we are talking about when we talk about an inbound tornado strategy. So I want to be really clear. This strategy is for realtors that have already gained significant market share and have an established brand, or established entrepreneurs or the like that understand very well what it takes to advertise a business and are willing to spend accordingly. All right, so this very specifically is for a client of mine that watched another video, and I have a small handful of clients that right now, with the recent shift in, like we saw a 0.5 point decrease right now in 2024 for interest rates. And a couple of almost as soon as that happened, as soon as it became clear that was happening, some of my biggest clients called into me and increased their strategies, increased their campaigns. They're basically going to take marketing share while the rest of the real estate market is retreating. All right. I mentioned in other videos that we do have some of those people, and they are all kicking into high gear right now. And this is what we are recommending and implementing. Before we get into the specifics, what does it do? Well, the idea behind an inbound strategy is to make sure that your most interested people are engaging with websites, local profiles, and usually they have started to follow you, trying to get answers about things that matter to them. Right now in the market that we're in, this could include a lot of information about listing strategies, when and how you should list your home. What are the things that you could do that would be best to create the most value? How do you deal with the new NAR rulings on the buyer side? Giving out information like that, you already will have been doing some of that. If you're even talking to me about this strategy, all of that is in place for you. You have all that going on. What the tornado strategy does is make sure that you keep getting in front of those people over and over and over again, and that you're presenting different answers to different questions as they have those answers, as they have those questions. So they always come back to you, to your site, to what you've got on your site. It's consistent. And why is that so powerful? Well, I'll give you an example. I follow a couple of very relevant marketers inside the generalized SEO space. The guy that does the best job for all of these marketers in applying this strategy is Neil Patel. Okay, and everywhere that I go, his content is advertised to me. It's put in my email inbox. It's on Facebook. It's oftentimes follows me on Twitter. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing what basically Neil Patel's latest post is. I probably click on 30 to 40% of them and I find him someplace. I don't even know where exactly, but every time I see his name, I click on him. Name brand recognition, he's provided me a lot of great answers over the years, so I constantly end up on his site. That's the idea behind the tornado strategy. How to implement it, all right? So what is it exactly? What is exactly the strategy? Well, once you have a website that has a great deal of inbound traffic, let's just say 5,000 people per month at a minimum. Maybe there could be some variances there. So first of all, you install a tool that collects as much of those information as possible, which is perfectly legal and perfectly legitimate. Anybody that's curious to know how you do that, you can call me, all right? I'm not gonna explain it on this video. I'm simply gonna say there is a way to scrape information of visitors that come to your website that is legal and legitimate, and you collect all of their email address. Now, the key to making that strategy relevant is that you have in place, ready to go, a very high value content strategy where you send those people whose information you've newly collected, let's call it 1,000 people per month, and you're adding them to a list. The list is going over very high value. So if you've got a good inbound strategy going on and it's based on SEO or digital, what's happened is that people coming into that website have already found you for things like cost of living, what are property taxes in Fairhope, Alabama, what are the 10 best things to do in Fairhope. So the traffic that you're getting to the website is already extremely specific. It probably means either people that are traveling to your market or people that are already in your market, which means, and it's people that are already visiting your site. If you're on a luxury site and you are building out, like you're looking for a luxury audience, then your lifestyle information is going to be extremely focused. Like, what are the top 10 mansions that have sold in Beverly Hills this year? Stuff like that. And all those questions would have been hitting your site. The people doing those searches are obviously people whose information is usually typically pretty hard to capture, but we can capture them through this scraping methodology. Effectively, what we're doing is we're going to take a high volume signpost strategy, a digital signpost. We're going to collect as much information of people that are driving, by the freeway and looking at the signpost, because digital allows you to do that. And then once we've collected their information, we're going to send them more targeted, more relevant advertisement. But guess what? We're not sending it, call me, I'm a realtor. Okay, that would be dumb. That's what everybody does. And it's stupid. Okay, forgive me if you do that. All right. What is better by far is now let's say we've got a few thousand people on a list. So now we're going to send them out more content, except the content that we're going to send out to them is going to be via email. All right, and that content and that list of people is also, at the same time that we're sending them out those emails, we're going to do what's called a remarketing campaign. Many of you have heard of this through companies like Ylopo, who have finally made the term more commonly understood in the real estate industry. Put simply, there is a way that we can take your email address and we can have what's called a pixel on various social media services like WhatsApp and Facebook and Google and YouTube. And an ad follows you around, what's called a display ad. All right, the display ad in our case with the tornado functionality, once again, every once in a while, like you're gonna have like 10 display advertisements of different types. But we're gonna have 3 or 4 content-based display advertisements, and we're gonna have a couple of Go search listings, but search listings is so commoditized, it's a low-value strategy in the real estate industry right now. And it has been for a long time. Okay, you can search anywhere you want, and why would you waste all of this valuable, hyper-focused market targeting on something like that? Instead, send people back into the funnel with something they can only find from you. content that you've done, usually backed by video that is specifically talking about your marketplace. This strategy works like a dream. And here's the crazy thing. What is the call to action that really gets people wound up? So everywhere they go, they see you. Okay, they see you on Facebook. They see you on Instagram. They see you in their email box. Okay, they see you everywhere. All right, but you are advertising answers to questions, not search here, call me now. You're advertising stuff that they may need. Is now the right time to sell would be a great example. Probate, the silvering of your parents. You know, what happens after my parents die? When should I talk to my parents about signing over their property to me? These would all be relevant questions for today's age. All of them. All right, so we do all of those answers. You find an answer that somebody needs, they're back on your site again. You make it the de facto place for people to arrive at, where when they are finally ready to do search, they trust you so much, you're really the only person they're going to call or search the site. That's the strategy. Okay, it's not at all the typical strategy that you find inside real estate. And the implementation, now this strategy, like I said, this is really for established realtors, okay? There are other components to making this strategy work. When and how and what kind of content that you produce, how much of it, where it goes, or is it multi-platform? In other words, do you have it posted on Facebook, Twitter? Like I said, this is not for your common average real estate agent. This is for people that are moving into a dominant place, that want to build a list of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people in a targeted market, and then make sure that the vast majority of those people moving towards a transaction that are online use them. This would be the time, by the way, for all of you watching. The inclination of most people to apply a tornado strategy is when the market is at its height. When the market's at its height, there's so much noise in the marketing space that it's tough to get heard even with a strategy like this. Currently, with the people that we're applying this strategy for, this is the time that you can gain 20, 30, 40, 50% market share. Really, because almost everybody has gone out of the advertising space. So this is meant to be a long-term, and just like a tornado, it starts small and builds up over time. And that's what this strategy is intended to do. So this is the time. 6, 12 months wind up, the market will absolutely have changed. And by that time, everybody that's been sitting on, waiting to start their direct marketing campaigns again, their PPC campaigns, they would never be able to catch up to you. Never. So this is the inbound marketing tornado strategy. There's lots of other details. That's why I've said call InboundREM. If you follow me on my videos, you know that promotion inside these videos is not something that I do a ton. But this is so complicated. It involves, there's so many layers to this. It involves getting on the phone with me and doing a consultation. Like we have to talk through this, and you can't just watch this video and take this advice and go try to apply it. There's a lot of moving parts. How do you scrape the information? What email marketing manager are you using to send out these emails? Do you have somebody to write something really custom? Do you have landing pages on the website to send people through this kind of campaign, so on and so forth. Anyway, my name is Robert Newman. I've been your host, your Sherpa for this extremely advanced marketing strategy. Do me a favor, if you got something from this video, if you learned something, even if this video just gave you an idea and got the brain percolating, thumbs up the video and give me a comment. I appreciate it.